I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Bloomington Commission on Sustainability. This is our July regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 11th, 2023, and it is 6 p.m. Will the secretary please call roll?
Yes, Matt Austin.
Here.
Caitlin. Matt Flaherty.
He's here, I just admitted him.
You what? Oh, you just, okay, cool, so he's online. David.
Here.
Nigella. Nolan. Emma.
Here.
John. Jessica. Hannah.
I'm here.
Jessica's on. Okay. Justin.
Here.
Alex.
Here.
Heidi.
Here.
Dennis.
Here.
All right.
Selfie.
And you can note Caitlin and Najla is here.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
Are you there? I guess so.
Today's agenda was distributed by email on Friday, July 7th. Are there any objections to adopting the agenda as distributed and shown on the current screen? Hearing none, the agenda is adopted. The meetings for the June 13th regular meeting are included in the packet. Are there any corrections? Okay, if there are no corrections, the meetings are approved. And then we'll go into public comment. Whoever would like to go first.
Nothing much, but besides thinking about planning for heat emergencies, again, this year has been flood emergencies and also one on a very large scale, the Italian water crisis. Not only drought, but public water supplies are being impacted by another year of drought
Where in Italy?
in Italy.
Oh, okay.
So, same old same.
Mm-hmm.
And with 5 hottest days in record this year.
Ever in
Yeah, it's
history?
And more to come.
Okay. Joe?
If I may, yeah, thank you. So, Joseph Winia, speaking as a member of the public and former commissioner. I apologize if this is in anyone's updates, but I just wanted to pass along that I got an invitation from Earth Charter Indiana. They have their Climate Leadership Summit 8 coming up. So, we were encouraged to attend that last year. They did a roundtable of commissions on sustainability. So, it's a neat opportunity to talk and network with other commissions. So, just wanted to pass that all along to you.
When is?
When and where?
Let's see.
I'll send out.
I did forward the invitation email to Emma.
Yeah,
we can
so I'll forward that to
redistribute
everyone.
to
But
everyone. Looks like it is.
Just so everybody know that I will be there and so will Michaela March.
Okay, nice.
it's in September.
September 8th,
8th.
2023. Registration's at 9 a.m. And
Oh,
it
go
is
ahead
at the
for it.
Indiana University Northwest in Gary, Indiana.
Perfect.
That is all.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, we're gonna go into report from acting chair. That's me. I don't have a report. Report from staff liaison.
Okay. I'll set somewhere so I can have a mic, so people can actually hear me. Okay, so I don't really have too many updates, but we're still working on the BCOS Neighborhood Grant Program, and we are really hoping to have that in place by next month. My intern's working on it, and so is Michaela Lynch. So I'm hoping next meeting I'll have actual standard operating procedures and how that's going to play out for everybody. Same thing with the BCOS grant program. So that's a grant program for BCOS members. If you have a project that you want funded, there'll be an application process for that. And so we're getting all of that in place. And I'll hopefully be able to let you know the process for that next month. I also wanted to remind everybody that we have our Climate Ready Community Survey. It's live now. There's the link to it. It's to gather community input for climate risks and vulnerabilities. And so far we've got about 50 people who have completed the survey. We put a press release out for it. So we're getting some feedback, but if you can forward that link to your organizations, your places of employment, I would really appreciate it. We want as much community input as possible for that. So if anybody doesn't have any questions.
That's a pretty quick survey, I think.
It's a quick survey,
Yeah,
yes.
it's very
Uh-huh.
quick.
Yeah.
It's not
Mhm.
long and drawn out by any means.
And
When-
there's,
Sorry.
sure, go
When
ahead.
was the last time that the city did a vulnerability assessment, just like on their own without
Uh-huh.
like community involvement?
In 2020.
Okay.
So this is the first one
Okay.
that we're getting community input.
Okay.
So we're having our first climate risk and vulnerability community workshop in July, but that's invite only. So we'll have about 50 people there, and we'll be going through all of our climate risks and vulnerabilities. And so to your point, I know that there's a lot of climate anxiety out there, and so this is one way where people can fill out the survey and let us know how they're feeling. And then there's a place in the survey where they can add their own comments if there's anything that's missing.
Did you send the link to that, information to Lynn?
To Linda, she has it.
Oh, she is, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, any environmental commissions, any type of commissions, if they can fill out the survey, it'd be very helpful.
Did you already say how long it's open?
Until October 1st.
So I wanted to ask, just because I was
Sure.
on the Zoom
Uh-huh.
meeting, can you talk to us about the composting, Earth Mama,
Sure.
kind of just your initial, what you learned so far?
Sure. So we have been in talks with Earth Mama Compost. They're a company out of Indy. They're a pretty large company. They've got contracts with the City of Indianapolis, Scienceville. They take care of all of the compost at IUPUI and Butler. And so we're hoping that they'll be able to come down here and start operations. It's going to be a couple of months before we have anything in place. There's still some logistics that we have to figure out, but she has submitted some cost estimates. And so we're working with Monroe County Solid Waste District to kind of figure out a plan to move forward with them. It would be an RFP process, and so it's not guaranteed that we would use them, but I don't know of any other composting operations of that size around here that would be willing to do what we need to take over for Earth Keepers.
Not for food
So
waste, at least.
What's that?
Not for food waste, at least.
Right, not
Right.
for food waste.
Yeah.
For
So we-
residential.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, okay, that's-
residential and commercial. Yeah.
Oh, and commercial. Yeah.
And my understanding, correct me if
Sure.
I'm wrong, is that they don't actually do the composting themselves. They're more
Right.
the transportation service, and they drop it off at a composter. So they're the go-between, but they do service
Right.
large entities, and they're looking at either driving it back up to Indy or potentially having a site here in Bloomington. But there's
Right.
a lot that goes on to get that approved.
I was
Right.
about to ask
Yeah.
that it's going off to a third party.
Right.
It's not
Uh-huh.
being cut with Earth Mama. Is any of
Right.
that benefit of the compost coming back to serve Bloomington, or is it just one done gone?
I think done and gone. I think that
Okay.
Transporting
If
it
it
back
goes
here
up to
to
Indy,
Bloomington.
yes, it's
Yeah.
going to
Uh-huh.
a job.
No problem.
They do have on their website that you can come get a bucket of soil or whatever once it's turned over. So it would be ideal to have it situated here in Bloomington, because
Right.
then we could benefit. But once again, there's a lot of challenges involved.
So what's that incentive for residents to compost for them compared to like doing it residentially, if that makes sense, since they can't get like their own
Mhm.
benefit, so to say, out of it?
Yeah, I
Does
guess.
that make sense?
The benefit is that there are residents that won't do their own compost,
Okay.
right? And residents who do their own compost won't have
Right.
to pay
Mhm.
for the service
Mhm.
in that.
The benefit is that it
and that's-
doesn't go to the
You know what I
landfill.
It's an
mean?
alternative
Yeah.
to throwing it in the
Yeah.
trash.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not ideal that we're trucking the compost up to Indy, but we don't want to lose all the momentum that's been gained
Correct.
through Earth Keepers. So we want to keep
Mhm.
people composting until we get something here locally.
And that's also why we hope to do a neighborhood composting
Mm-hmm.
program to
Right.
fill in some of those gaps as well.
Was the Earthkeepers facility, is that just defunct, or were they using like a third party themselves?
Earth Keepers partnered
Go
with
ahead.
Fable Farms, and so it was at Fable
Oh,
Farms,
okay.
but it just was no longer viable when it came to the cost of it and the cost of expanding, which is what they needed to do. And then there was a zoning issue that the county wasn't willing to shore up, so it just was not a sustainable business
Is
long term.
Fable Farms local, or is
Yeah.
it? Okay. And there's not a possibility to partner directly with them?
Like for Earth Mama to partner with them?
Yeah. Is that, so Earthkeepers was doing the same thing as Earth Mama
Right.
would do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's-
I'm not sure if that would be an option. I don't
something
really know,
that we
but
should-
it's something to think about and maybe reach out to them and see.
I guess if you said you're gonna do an RFP anyway, so it makes sense, we can include that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if the reason why they needed to expand was because Fable Farms just couldn't
Yeah.
keep up with the
Oh,
amount
okay.
of compost that was being generated.
Maybe there could be like
Could
an
be.
RFP for local farms to see if they can do that, just to keep it within the community.
Yeah, really good things to think about, keep in mind. So we're in the initial phases, so it's gonna be a process to figure out all the logistics and what's gonna happen with the compost, but we definitely wanna keep the momentum going and get something in place as soon as possible. So I'll keep you posted.
Thanks.
Any more questions for Sean? Okay, I'm gonna tack on to under staff liaison, and I'd like our new members to introduce themselves and maybe just say a little bit about your background. Heidi, right? Do you want
Yeah, I can go first.
to? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm Heidi Dowding. I have lived in Bloomington. I lived in Bloomington previously in 2015 for a year. Came back and I've been here for a year and a half, and I'm like a long-term resident. Own a house in like near the YMCA. Have 2 young kids, so I'm really interested in investing in the community and making sure that it's sustainable for my kids specifically, but for everybody. I had a small business that was focused on like developing kind of sustainable living personally. That's sort of defunct. I've like turned it off for now, but I also work for I'm a product manager for a technology company that focuses on the circular economy, so reselling items. So it's kind of different experiences, but I definitely have a business background, and hopefully I can contribute using that, especially. Very excited to join.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Dennis. Nice to meet all of you. So for me, I've been already going to be in Indiana for 8 years. I'm originally from Austin, Texas, and I've been involved more in the nonprofit world. And I think one of the biggest things that I've realized in the nonprofit world is that we don't really bring up topics about the environment, especially within Latino communities. And I think that that's something that we really need to work on. We need to incorporate that because the environment impacts so much of our lives. I'm currently a PhD student at O'Neill. I study environmental health, and I'm really interested in seeing how we can make sustainability more equitable, but also accessible to everyone. I think that's really important. And yeah, I'm excited to see what we can do together, and nice to meet all of you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a report? A report from council, Matt?
Hello, y'all. I'll come on screen here for this. Good to see you all. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Great. Well, as you all may know, we're at council recess right now in July, and so I'm actually out of town at the moment, but happy to again be with you tonight. First, just welcome to the new folks. Glad to have the introductions there. My name is Matt Flaherty. I'm an at-large city council member and a member of the BCOS. We have one council representative seat to be at BCOS. And I also was a former member of BCOS prior to serving as a city council member, so have had some involvement in the commission for a while. I also work in climate and energy policy professionally and have a lot of passion for what y'all are doing here and what we're doing. Wanted to share a handful of updates, I guess. First, I'll echo a plug for what Joseph shared, which is the Climate Leadership Summit 8 coming up in early September. I've attended a couple of these before. Earth Charter Indiana does a really great job. I think it's in Gary this year, so a little bit of a haul, but good conference with Indiana focus, all the same. Second update, I've shared previously that the council's special committee on council processes, one of the things we're taking up this year is board and commissioner reform, looking at, among other things, 10 recommendations that were finalized in a report from the Novak Consulting Group. It was an organizational assessment, essentially, of the city's boards and commissions across the gamut. We have something like 45 or so, some of which are statutory, it's the Plan Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, many of which are advisory organizations or commissions like BCOS. And so we're looking at those recommendations. We really just had a couple of scoping meetings to get that set up, and start talking through our initial impressions of the recommendations as 4 committee members, council members making up that committee. We had Councilmember Dave Rollo decide to step down from that committee, and Councilmember Steve Boland is going to step up to replace him. That all happened in early June, and between people's schedules, we just weren't able to reschedule. So we're kind of planning to pick back up in August after the council recess is over and take on that work. It's particularly relevant, A, because it's a commission, of course, but B, because one of the 10 recommendations in that report was to consider the combining the Environmental Commission and this commission, the Commission on Sustainability. And I think it's well recognized among committee members and others that, on this commission and others that have pointed out that the report didn't have a very firm understanding of the concept of sustainability or what the two commissions really were working on necessarily. That said, we want to take the recommendation seriously and at least give it some due diligence. So we'll be scoping that in some way in the future. We'll probably get through kind of a full rundown of the report's recommendations before we zero in on particular ones. And when we do, and we focus on what it might look like to consider BCOS and Environmental Commission combining, what the pros and cons would be, that sort of thing, we'll be reaching out and inviting your all's input specifically. So I just wanted to let you know where we are on that, and you can expect probably late this summer or fall some specific opportunities to engage on that question. Another update I had shared last month was the council was considering increasing sanitation fees for City of Bloomington sanitation, and that reflects rising costs that have now outstripped what the max allowed fees are for collection. We have a sort of tiered system with 3 different cart sizes. If you get City of Bloomington sanitation services, you're familiar with that, of course. And so it's, at least at some level, can incentivize reduced waste, though a true pay-as-you-throw model might further that initiative. But the other factor with sanitation fees specifically is that we put about $1 million from the general fund into reducing those rates, subsidizing that rates essentially. So the rates don't cover the costs of the sanitation service. I and some other council members have some equity concerns around that based on the fact that the general fund is sourced by property and income taxes from the entire community, but only serves, in the case of the sanitation services, a subset of the community, which is predominantly single-family homes. And as a group, the folks who are not benefiting from that subsidy that they're helping to contribute to are disproportionately people of color, renters, lower-income folks in our community. So we've been working to address that. There hasn't been at all alignment on the council about exactly how to do that, but I think we got closer to that in June. So we ultimately voted down the ordinance that the administration had brought looking at fee increases, but I think we might have alignment among the majority of us to phase out that subsidy gradually over time to avoid any sort of rate shock. And I'll just mention too that we also have a fairly robust payment assistance plan for City of Bloomington utilities for folks who may have challenges paying bills, and trash fees are included as part of that service. So we would invite feedback on that tonight or offline if folks have particular things they want to follow up on about sanitation fees. A couple more things to mention. One is we had a Walnut and College corridor study underway. This is a pretty significant undertaking. We're talking about reimagining Walnut College streets from really, I think, where the Allen Street Greenway crosses all the way up to the bypass. And this has been recommended by our transportation plan, and the goal is to see if we can help achieve more of our city goals in the context of our transportation system. And that includes, I would say, climate resilience. So not just in terms of encouraging sustainable modes of transportation, but also looking at things like stormwater management, heat island management along those corridors. So encourage folks to keep an eye on that project, engage with it. If you go to bloomington.in.gov/college in Walnut, you can get the latest on it. There were a series of public meetings in early June, and then I think within the next month or few months, they will have some preliminary design options coming back from partner consultants and invite more feedback and public engagement and that sort of thing. Also, the last council meeting in June, the council unanimously passed a resolution brought by Councilmember Steve Boland, resolution 2310, and that is encouraging the administration and Bloomington Transit to look into the possibility of a circulator shuttle downtown, which would be an electric bus that would help connect downtown destinations. So you can dig into that in the council's packet. If you go to the council's webpage, so bloomington.in.gov/council, there's a meetings and documents and a legislation tab. And if you go to the legislation tab, you could pull up Resolution 2310 and see Councilmember Boland's proposal and slides. So I would say it's kind of in the research phase. The council's expressed interest in the possibility of a downtown circulator shuttle to connect folks, and asking for Bloomington Transit administration to look at it more closely. One last update, which is that I think at our first meeting back, July 26th, we are going to have some legislation, either an ordinance or a resolution, I'm not actually sure the structure yet, to consider what the council would like to do about our longstanding goal for creating safe bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure that connects Miller Showers Park on the north side, kind of near the bypass, all the way up to Bloomington High School North. So this has been called for in a variety of city plans for many years, including our transportation plan, including also a resolution supported by BCOS and passed by the council in 2019, brought by the YES Society, Youth for Environmental Sustainability Society, of which Jared Alexander, former commissioner, was a part, asking for safe walking and biking routes, high comfort walking and biking routes to Bloomington North High School from town. So this has been something we've actually appropriated money for in the past and have made some progress on. So if you're familiar with Cascades Park, the hill that climbs out of Cascades Park towards the golf course has a multi-use path along it. More recently, there have been updates extending that multi-use path further into the park, and also creating an accessible boardwalk up to the waterfall feature in that park. The last section is from about where that waterfall feature is, south to Miller Showers Park. And here's where it gets a little tricky because space is limited and things cost a lot of money. And there was a pilot during the pandemic where we closed the road to vehicle traffic and just opened it to pedestrians, bicyclists, other micromobility users for maybe a year and a half period of time. And there were some really positive outcomes in terms of the way folks interacted with and used the park. Very few of our parks have roads going through them. Cascades is sort of unique in that regard. It's a function of its historical State Road 37 running through there. So anyway, Scott Robinson, head of the Planning and Transportation Department, working with the mayor's office, has brought a menu of options, essentially, to how we can achieve our goals of actually connecting that infrastructure like we've said we were going to for a long time, what the options are. And the three basic options are build a new multi-use path along that stretch, shut the one lane of vehicle traffic, create it as a one-way road through there, and then use the other space to build some separation between a high comfort multi-use facility and a one-lane road. And the third option would be to close that section of the road to vehicle traffic. Notably, all the parking assets to the park would remain in place and accessible. If not, the road would close from the full stretch. It would just be the section that's needed to connect. So you would access the park from the northwest or the northeast in that case. These come with some varying trade-offs. The first option, actually building something separated, which would be on the other side of the creek for a lot of it, it's probably about $4 million and has some potentially negative environmental impacts in terms of the erosion and trees that would need to be taken out to fit that in that space. The one-way street option with a multi-use path is kind of something of an in-between, and the street closure is probably to vehicle traffic for a portion of the road is probably the lowest cost option and maybe highest comfort for pedestrian and bicycle users. So that's what we're looking at. I thought y'all may find that interesting for a variety of reasons related to cost, environmental quality, and sustainable transportation. Once that packet comes out for that meeting, which will be in a I guess Friday after this one, there will be memos and supporting materials from the administration you can dig into, and I can work to forward that to you all if you're interested in following up. Or again, feel free to reach out to me offline if you have specific questions or feedback on it. So those are the major things going on at council that are, I think, most relevant to the commission. Happy to hear feedback or answer questions.
Any questions, comments for Matt? All right, thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Okay, we're gonna move on to reports from our working groups. Just transition. Who'd like to go first?
Sure. We submitted our goals.
Should we read
So,
them?
yeah, we can share those with everyone if you want to do the first one since that's the one you're kind of championing.
Oh, sure. Wait, just the first one?
Yeah, since you're kind of working with the fossil fuel
Okay,
side of things.
yeah, so the first goal is to identify and assess the material and socioeconomic implications of the eventual fossil fuel phase out in our community.
And then we're also working to promote the intersectional collaboration among the city stakeholders, so boards and commissions, community organizations, and all of their stakeholders as it aligns with the just transition goals. Those who've been on the commission and have heard about what Just Transitions is working on, it's pretty broad. It is literally about transitioning to a more sustainable model justly. So we look at a lot of equity concerns, and Najla's kind of been the champion of that. So I'm sure she could do a spiel. But this year we want to work on figuring out where those intersections are, since that's really the heart of our work. And then, do you want me to share the last one or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and then the final one is to collaborate with Summit Hill and other equitable housing opportunities, as well as city staff and our other key stakeholders, to assess affordable housing and the environment of housing sustainability, so we can identify opportunities to increase housing sustainability as well. So those are kind of the three overarching goals we have for this year. Some of the action-oriented steps we've taken, we reached out to the Indiana Geological Survey. I believe they're gonna come and do a presentation. Do we know what day?
Nate's coming on in August.
Nate
from Summit Hill.
Nate from Summit Hill's coming in August, so
Yes.
that'll align with our third goal. But then we also have the Indiana Geological Survey coming at some point as well, which I think aligns with our first goal.
Mhm.
So learning a lot, figuring out where those intersections are, and we're a 2-person strong working group right now, and we'd love to increase that. So if any of the new members have a particular interest in sustainability and as it intersects with equity and equitable sustainability, I think that's a great place for you to come and join us. So that's the report from us.
Yeah, I just wanted to add
Oh, yeah,
also
go ahead.
that we have reached out to the contact we received from Emma at Duke Energy, and we're going to be meeting with them soon, and we hope to spur a real collaborative relationship between the commission and Duke Energy, who is our local electricity provider, as it pertains to the just transition.
Was that Liz?
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then do you want to talk about this Your Safe City work as well?
Yeah, and we've also reached out to the Safe Cities organization, which is a nonprofit that works towards making cities in the U.S. safe from climate change. And they're closely related with the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty that our working group is also exploring. And we're going to be meeting with her soon to kind of just talk with her about what we found out so far about the local implications regarding a just transition, and what kind of resources they might have that what's worked in other cities, basically. Especially she seemed to have a lot of resources on building and grid electrification, and like fossil fuel storage types of facilities, and just all kinds of other kind of best practices. And the other thing is, possibly along with Anne, or even just on our own, we're hoping to put together a presentation at some point for the commission, maybe not next month, but at some point, to kind of get the commission talking about the the international and economic forces at play in climate change transition off fossil fuels, because some of those may not be as well known to everyone on the commission, and they're really critical. That kind of knowledge is really critical to understanding why a non-proliferation treaty is essential action towards reducing and meeting our climate goals. So I think that's it.
Great. Thank you. I'll move on to the community engagement and outreach. Do you have anything?
Yeah, so I think all of you should have got an email from me within the last 24 hours or so with some updates there. So far since we met last time, we've identified roughly just shy of 50 organizations that could be potential collaboration partners. Of course, some of those organizations will align more closely with our with our mission than others, and so sort of the first step is sort of prioritizing those into groups where we think that we could have a lot of potential overlap in what we can do together, and which are maybe less so that we can really kind of focus our efforts on some of those higher priority or more better aligned organizations. One of those organizations on the list is Earth Charter Indiana. So appreciate, Joe, you bringing up the Climate Leadership Summit, because that sounds like a great opportunity to go and interact with that organization, but also with other organizations that are going to be there. So that sounds like a useful, worthwhile event. So right now we're in the phase of trying to prioritize those organizations and try to figure out who points of contact are there once we decide we want to get in touch with some of them and reach out. So if anyone here has contacts in any of the organizations that's listed on the spreadsheet, please feel free to update the spreadsheet with that information. And if you have thoughts about, I'm familiar with what this organization is doing and they are definitely aligned with our mission, feel free to adjust that priority scale. Low, medium, high is sort of the scale we have right now. But it's really meant to be a collaborative document, so don't be shy about making changes to it. And once that's sort of in place, we'll start looking into reaching out and looking for areas where we can collaborate and sort of finalizing the engagement strategy. I also sent around the draft text of that engagement strategy. And so identifying some of those top collaborators as part of that. So yeah, again, whatever you're able to contribute, if you've got a few minutes and you want to just update the spreadsheet or give a couple comments on the document, that would be great. If you're really excited about what's going on, you want to be more deeply involved, just let me know. Really any level of effort that you want to give works. So you don't have to sort of formally join the working group and make yourself an official member. Anyone's welcome to join in. And again, we're looking for organizations that have overlap not just on the environmental side, but the other aspects of our mission too, which is that social equity, that economic equity as well in terms of sustainment. So.
Awesome, thank you, Justin. Waste management?
We did not meet, so we don't have any updates. Two things. Farm Aid is late September. I just signed up to volunteer for that, so supporting
What
farms.
is it?
Farm Aid.
Oh.
It's in I think at Ruoff Mortgage Center. And then we had our first, at our urban farm, we had our first sighting of jumping worm last night. If you don't know what that is, it's a nasty invasive worm out of Asia. It essentially destroys your soil. It literally consumes all of the minerals, nutrients, and so your plants will end up dying. So MC Iris just updated their website, and it tells you how to deal with them. You basically take mustard seed and add water to it, and you pour it into the ground, and it causes all the worms to come up. So yeah, it could be a pretty nasty problem. So thanks. And essentially, it looks like a normal worm, but it moves different than a normal worm, and instead of it's I forget what it's called. Its little band around it, it's white, whereas normal worms are pink or red. So you just want to kill it if you see them. And then they've got this weird little sucker mouth that comes out. It's very
Actually jump.
they move like a snake. They're very, very wild.
I think some of those have crawled out of my houseplants. Because I've had earthworms crawl out of my houseplants, and when I try to grab them, they literally have like jumped a couple feet across the room, and I'm like, "What is going on?"
That's probably them. But yeah, they've got a weird sucker mouth, and then the white band. So you want to kill those.
Mustard seed, huh?
Yeah, mustard seed combined with water.
Huh?
They'll get in anywhere. They jump like they came 20 feet onto my balcony with I have like a garden up there.
Ew.
They made their way in there.
Yeah.
So.
Wonderful.
This is a nightmare.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Have you
seen
me
missing?
Yeah.
No curtain.
Wanted.
Honestly, my garden has been kind of shabby.
Okay, well, I think that's a good place for us to wrap up. Jumping worms. So that concludes our meeting.
Oh wait, did we finish report from commissioners? Oh, could I wanted to just mention, new business.
Okay.
Did you
Sure.
finish that yet? Okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay,
What would you
great. Yeah, so, just really quickly, I wanted to, introduce myself to our new members, Dennis and Heidi, and let you guys know, I also have a business background, so, welcome. And yeah, I wanted to extend an invitation for you to join, and you as well. But I know you mentioned like social equity as it regards to social sustainability and the Just Transition Working Group. That is like our prime directive. So we would definitely welcome anyone who wanted to join our working group at this point. So I wanted to mention that the CAPS Commission, which is another city commission that I sit on, recently passed a report, an alternative public safety report with recommendations. And this report is a culmination of 3 years of research and community outreach that we performed with key stakeholders. Yeah, CAPS is Community Advisory on Public Safety Commission. This is a fairly new commission that's been around just a couple of years now. And we advise the city on how it might improve public safety, specifically for marginalized people in our community. And so this report's kind of a big deal for our commission. And so our recommendations, they relate closely to the BCAUS purview, especially around socioeconomic sustainability, but also it has implications for environmental sustainability. And so next month, I would like to put forward a motion in the meeting for BCAUS to endorse the key recommendation in that report, which is for the city to fund a feasibility study to be carried out by a qualified firm to assess the creation of a department to oversee community safety. And that would include the creation of an unarmed, non-coercive crisis response team, community responders, you may have heard of them, peer responders type of thing. But with that in mind, please check your email boxes later tonight for the report. And it's fairly long. The report is like 40 pages, but the appendix of quotes from stakeholders is like over 100 pages. But, we really wanted people, if they wanted to be able to actually read people's words in their own words from our community to see all the outreach we did. But the part with the recommendations is fairly short, and the tie-in with the commission is fairly straightforward. But I'll plan to address that as well directly next month to talk about the tie-in with this commission. But check your inboxes. I'll be sending out the report tonight, and that gives everyone like a month to read it. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about it before the meeting as well. Any questions about that right now? I plan we'll discuss it next month after everyone's looked at the report. Great.
Awesome.
I do have something to add. As y'all know, I work in like EVs and electric vehicles, charging infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with NEVI, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program. Indiana is currently seeking about $100 million in charging infrastructure grants, and NDOT is hosting their first public meeting in Indianapolis this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Habitat Conference Center. Completely open to the public. There's 2 a week in the biggest cities in Indiana: Gary, Fort Wayne, Evansville, New Albany, Muncie. That's just there to bring the community in, specifically sustainability organizations, sustainability-oriented people, to come in and receive more information about how Indiana is going to implement level 2 and level 3 charging stations across the interstates here in Indiana. And Bloomington's a huge component on that, as we do have 69. So they're all, 69 running through here, and it's what they would call a charging corridor. So there's multiple cities on 69 that can really benefit from
100%.
charging infrastructure. Like I said, those meetings are twice a week, Thursdays and Saturdays, all throughout the state. And if you do find a chance to come up to Indianapolis on Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m., it'd be a great pleasure to have you. I will be representing Greater Indiana Clean Cities. So,
For people who don't,
beautiful. The more the merrier. I'll also be in New Albany, Gary, and Fort Wayne.
Can you report back to?
Yes, I would love to. It's a huge event. I mean, Indiana could be on the forefront of charging infrastructure, so it's
and
for a red state, it's kind of
for people who don't know, why is a level 2 and a level 3 charger so important?
Yeah, so level 2 chargers, like what you see like in homes and stuff like that. That's like ease of access, use of off-peak rates to charge at night, so your electricity cost for the city, and it's just a lot cheaper. The chargers you see in the parking garages are referred to like DC fast chargers. Those are essentially meant to like charge your vehicle in 30 minutes, depending on your kilowatt availability. Pretty cool technology, very cool technology, if you ask myself. And it's really important to have multiple level 2 and level 3 chargers, DC fast chargers, to mitigate ICE vehicles, which is internal combustion, gas-powered engines, diesel-powered engines, to really increase sustainable mobility and sustainable transportation. So the more chargers we have, more chargers, more cars. That means they can shut down gas stations and replace those with chargers. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there for you all in case you're interested in hearing more from NDOT about the whole progress.
So repurpose gas stations.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to say close gas stations, but repurpose the function.
I hope you still have your fingers crossed that we're going to get the federal grant that we applied for EV chargers, $5.5 million grant.
For Bloomington.
For Bloomington.
Great. Great.
We're still waiting to hear back.
Do you know what the grant is?
It's the charging and fueling infrastructure grant.
Oh. Okay. I'm not gonna forget. Yeah.
On the EV side, I did learn that Andy Moore is now an authorized Tesla repair shop.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yes. If you want an EV expertise, I'd stray away from Tesla.
Well, I saw my first Rivian in town too.
Oh yeah, it's yeah. So they're on the west side. Yeah. So EV information. There you go. Greater Indiana Clean Cities, alternative fuel company in Indianapolis.
Is that who you work for?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So they're
It
sending
actually
you,
is pretty
so
cool.
they're sending you across.
Yeah,
the
they're sending me
state.
across the state to represent EVs for like organizations and cities. So.
Well, you definitely have the enthusiasm for it.
Oh my gosh, I could sit on this pedestal for hours.
Okay, great. Any other new business?
Just one more thing
Okay,
on that.
I
hope
knew
they
you
go
had something to
the
say.
way that the city of Austin has gone. City of Austin has plenty of EV chargers, and they charge, I think it's a flat rate of 10, 15 when I was there.
Cents.
Don't know dollars a month for unlimited charging.
See,
yeah, it was something
like
ridiculous.
Duke Energy,
but they have
the
their
same
own.
program.
They have their own power plants.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
if we get like the more charges we have, the more time of use rates we can really implement, which is like $10 for however long a month. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Again, anything else? Okay. There's no objections. We'll adjourn. It's 6:45. Our next meeting is August 8th, right here at 6 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here.